What are you curious about from an AI perspective in the clinical world?
Where is this information going if you are using it for clinic notes, and how are you keeping it secure?
It's a great question. So, welcome to Happy Hour, where we're flipping the script on the traditional happy hour. Instead of winding down with the drink, we're here to talk about what actually makes us happy and learn from society's healers, therapists, coaches, elders, spiritual leaders, and everyone in between. Join us as we dive into stories, insights, and tools that help us grow, heal, and support one another. Whether you're a seeker or a seer, this is for you. I'm Anurag, founder of Happy, and this series will be hosted by myself, along with my co-hosts, Mira and Tess, and we're excited to explore new ways to bring more joy and well-being into our lives. So take a deep breath, and let's dig in. Welcome to Happy Hour. This is Anurag Agrawala, founder CEO of HPY. Today, I'm incredibly excited to welcome Hannah. Hannah's part of LAOP, a network of group therapy practices in the Southern California region, rethinking how group practices operate. Hannah has an expertise in marketing new age therapy and ways for people to heal better. This conversation, we go into what it really takes to market a group practice and get the word out when your intention is truly to heal. Here's Hannah. Hi, welcome to Happy Hour.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, it is awesome to have you. I think you're a really unique guest on the show.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do. You're not exactly a clinician.
No. So my name is Hannah. I am the marketing manager of Centered Health, which is a mental health treatment center kind of HQ. So we have 4 treatment centers here in LA that help adults and then teens and adolescents with their mental health.
It's amazing. Walk me through your story. Like, it sounds like a bit of a niche to become a marketer for mental health centers.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I feel like people, when they get in this industry, it's normally like, you want to do it, and then that's your industry that you're in.
Totally.
I started in e-commerce, actually.
Okay.
So I was metaphysical tools, actually. So kind of like the same wellness space. So I was selling or helping sell spiritual classes and crystals and fun things.
Okay.
E-commerce. And then I did that for 4 years and saw this job listing. And I was just like, wow, the thought of actually, like selling a product is one thing, but selling someone like a whole new life is, you just can't like beat that, really.
No, totally.
Yeah, I wanted to take the leap, and then I interviewed and it just worked out. So here I am. I've been at Centered Health for 3.5 years now.
Okay. That's incredible. It's funny because I feel like mental health has become such a part of the general zeitgeist nowadays, which is amazing. I think it's a wonderful thing. Yet still, I always find like it sounds like one of the biggest challenges is getting over the stigma. So there's like this hump, and I imagine that's kind of at the core of your job. So maybe you can describe a little bit of like how does one even go about marketing mental health services? Like, what are the fundamentals to marketing mental health services?
Yeah, well, I think it's super interesting because you're right. There's a lot, especially with Gen Z, I feel like people are more comfortable talking about it to an extent. So you can say like, oh, I'm having a mentee, or, you know, like I'm feeling depressed, or I have OCD. But they don't necessarily mean they have OCD.
Yeah.
So there's still all these little like, I've seen trends on social right now. It's like, this is my hyper fixation meal. And so it's like, okay, is that helpful?
Sure.
Saying like more people talking about it, or is it also like that's not what hyperfixation actually
is?
The
misdiagnosis of social media.
Yeah, and you don't want to it's like great to talk about it, but then you at the same time don't want to take away someone else's experience who's actually going through that.
Absolutely.
So I think from a marketing perspective, we always try to focus on education.
Okay.
So what is this? What does it mean if you have it? And then like kind of where do you go from there? And that it is okay to talk about it. So we always want to provide like a supportive place if someone messages us or interacts with us on our website.
Right.
We always want to be very empathetic and very supportive of what they're going through.
There's a lot of mental health options, especially today in a world of like the BetterHelp or the Almas or the Headways. Like, how are you thinking about marketing differently?
I see. Okay, yes. And here's another part that's really hard about it is that social media, it's kind of like the general, everybody is there.
Totally.
Everyone's searching for things. So it's kind of also challenging to say, how do you connect from someone that just is looking for therapy versus someone who wants to go to an actual intensive program?
Totally.
So our programs aren't just, one-on-one talk therapy. Yeah, it's a very intensive program. So the residential program is the highest, and that's for people that come right out of the hospital.
Right.
And then you have, the IOP, PHP, which is you can go home at the end of the day, but you're still like Monday through Friday coming in to go to these groups. So a lot of our outreach is actually more on like therapists themselves who might need to refer a client.
Someone.
Yeah. Or talking to other treatment centers. And then also positioning ourselves as thought leaders, making sure that we're sharing our knowledge and, you need to, there's so much competition. You have to like show how you're the best facility.
No, absolutely. And as, I think for a lot of folks who listen to Happy Hour, obviously for HPY, we work with clinicians and group practices of all sizes and all specialties. I think one of the biggest challenges is when someone goes to school to become a clinician, they don't teach you how to be a marketer. As someone who's a professional marketer, right, within this space, like what's the advice you'd give to a therapist who's just getting started, setting up their group practice, or maybe hired their first one or two therapists? Like how should they think about that thought leadership, and how should they go about becoming a voice?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is one of the best opportunities for this right now because, you have your free platform. It's free to start posting. I heard that while they have 1 billion users, only 1% of them post weekly.
Yeah.
So if you're posting, you're already, way above everybody else.
Totally.
I think it's super interesting, though, that we're all expected to kind of be thought leaders at this point.
Correct.
Yeah, with like a therapist. And I've actually seen more therapists getting on LinkedIn and kind of talking about their gripes with the industry too.
Totally.
And how it's not like it's better to have your own private practice, I guess, than work at a hospital or another facility, just like for your own hours and the amount of, for your pay at the end of the day. But my biggest advice would be put yourself out there on LinkedIn. I don't think you have to have like a super strong social presence on Instagram.
Right. Well, that's where a lot of the attention goes, right? I mean, every clinician that I've talked to is always striving for the aesthetic, right? This like perfect therapeutic aesthetic, which is funny because you're like, wait a second, like the therapeutic process is actually kind of a different process.
Yeah, I think too, when your strength is obviously connecting with other people. So that goes right into marketing too. Like the being able to talk about your expertise and then, like you have that inside experience of what clients have been going through and what they want to hear. So that's, everybody's a marketer.
Yeah.
Everyone, you just have to connect with somebody in that way. And I think that people are really looking for that authenticity now more than ever, especially online. But really start with your own website. That would probably be my number one. And then get on a directory like Psych Today, $40 a month.
Yep.
Get on recovery.com. Those will all link back to your website.
Yep.
So TikTok, if you're just starting and you're okay being on camera and you want to do those types of things, that's a really great place just to, like with that algorithm, you really will get a high reach.
Yeah.
So, I think if someone's looking for you, they're looking for your website. They want to see that you have that. If you can get any client testimonials, that is, immediate guarantee that you know what you're talking about.
Totally.
And then I like to see a social media presence. I don't know that I would, if I was looking for a therapist, how much I would care about that.
Yeah. But it's so counterintuitive, right? It's almost like you feel compelled to be on Instagram as like a clinician, right? And the reality is you're right. Like as someone who's gone to therapy, that's like not the place I'm looking.
Yeah, I think too, if you're a virtual therapist, then, because you can take clients from all over.
Totally.
But if you have a private practice and you still want that in-person relationship or like that setting, social, it's just wild. You can try to get like your little niche, and you will find it, but it'll be someone from states away.
Totally.
Or, yeah. That's like the problem I have too, where someone's like, oh, can I join? I'm like, yeah, like fly over. And they're like, oh, no, like I need something, 5 minutes from my house.
Totally. And so talk to me a little bit about specifically like this network of group practices and outpatient centers. Like what does that look like? Like how do you think about marketing for each one? Does each one have a different orientation? Does it have a different focus area and different sort of audience base?
Yeah, so our intention behind that was to keep them all very boutique and
cool.
Give them all their own vibe. So we have one in Malibu. That one has like a very relaxed, like blue tones. We focus on the surf therapy and the art therapy.
Awesome.
And then we have another one in Agora Hills, and that is it's the same program, but this one has like a more structured feeling.
Okay.
So we're kind of like going after two different parent sets, where one is like values freedom of expression, and then the other one wants like a more, I wouldn't say rigid, but definitely organized, structured program. And that house really feels like a home as well. It's like very homey, very calming. So we play to each facility's strengths.
Okay. And it sounds like obviously within your model, right? And it sounds like adolescent is the larger population for these centers.
Oh, so in California, residential treatment centers can only hold 6 beds at a time.
Ah, okay.
So it's actually smaller, but I would say that's just what we're passionate about, helping teens.
That's super cool.
Yeah, but no, our adult locations definitely we can service more people.
Service more people. Mm-hmm. And like talk about the modalities. Like I know a lot of times modalities can sort of become the new pop sensation. IFS was kind of, I don't know if it's still the nouveau sort of modality that's exciting. But how do you think as a marketer, right? Because I know that's usually a very simple niche. Oh, I specialize in XYZ. Mm-hmm. And so a clinician will go down and sort of talk about that. What are some other ways outside of modalities that therapists and clinicians can sort of differentiate themselves?
Outside of modalities, you can definitely specialize in. So EMDR was a really special modality, but then when you get into like what that actually is, it's going back into like past traumas, right? Or childhood. So you could talk about like going back to meeting someone where they are and kind of trying to connect with them. So you don't have to say I'm an expert in EMDR, but it's more like I'm an expert in like helping you revisit your past to reclaim your future. Like there's your headline. So it's kind of like think about the solution, like a solution-based focus.
Absolutely. It's like you talk about the outcome like of that particular thing. It's, for IFS, reconcile all the parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super cool. And so for folks who kind of want to get into the practice of the practice, right, as you're learning about therapeutic practices, group practices, like what are some things that, as a non-clinician, the operator, what are some things you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. This is really unique in this kind of business.
Oh, I feel like everything about it is super unique.
Okay.
Yeah. Coming from a marketer who came into this with no prior experience, it's definitely more challenging than I would say like normal marketing avenues because it really is so personal, and you have to reach someone who might be in the panic state too and isn't always able to like think really clearly. So you have to be super straightforward while also being empathetic. And in this business, you just really have to be empathetic and really kind and really think about how people, like what people are going through.
Yeah. And the bar for customer is a lot higher, it sounds like.
Yeah. You really have to be, and not just for the customer, but for their families, you have to be like a very strong support system. So operations-wise, you need to have a really strong admissions team. So if you're if you're a therapist, make sure, like if you have something on your website that's a form and they fill out, make sure they're getting an auto email saying, I got your message, I'll be with you. Give them a realistic time that they can expect to hear back, because they really are putting all their trust in you.
Absolutely.
To help,
for you
to help. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as you think about it, like, where do you see the industry evolving to? Like, what does group practice and what do outpatient centers look like in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, is there a role of technology? Like, how are things going to shift and change?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely need more technology to kind of help with, not the overflow, but I mean, more people need mental health treatment
totally.
than ever, I think. And it's also becoming more acceptable, which is great, which means more people are seeking it.
Absolutely.
And I know Happy with the notes, like I think technology like that is really going to be instrumental in helping therapists focus on their clients and then not necessarily like the note-taking aspect.
Totally.
I also think that while we are seeing a kind of increase in virtual, like online therapy, I think it will come back around where people do want to have the in-person. So I think it'll definitely be more of that hybrid model where like some days, you know, people cannot get out of bed or they really are going to have that virtual. But at the same time, coming into a program like outpatient therapy every day is a really big motivator to help you like get out and do the things that you need to do.
I mean, there's like an element of the physicality of the world where it just makes a difference, you know, being in a space, absorbing the energy, the lights, the smells, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and your peers getting to talk to them, you know, like I even find myself, I'll go to the grocery store and I don't want to make like eye contact with anybody. And I'm kind of in my head and I'm like, what, you know, just say hello or, you know, be kind, like compliment someone's shoes.
Totally.
So I think we just all need those more like in-person experiences.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little about like AI. Like I know you probably, if obviously we're an AI company in mental health, but how have you been thinking and how's your sort of overall group been thinking about AI and the ways it can be useful in all parts of the therapeutic sort of business?
Yeah, I love AI.
Okay.
I'm 100% about it.
What are your favorite tools?
I use Jasper AI.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's specific for marketing. So that helps me do like my newsletters, any copy.
Totally.
And I think the most important thing about AI from a marketing perspective is that you don't want it to you don't want to say, I need a campaign for this, just make it. Like you need to give a very, very specific detailed prompt or write it yourself and just say, hey, can you polish this or make it better?
Absolutely.
So it's definitely not replacing anything. It's just, you know, kind of heightening a little bit.
Absolutely.
But from a, you know, operations perspective and with therapy, you can use it for, there's so many scheduling tools with AI. You can do your whole calendar. You can say like, I have even ChatGPT, you know, like this is in my schedule today, like help me optimize what I need to do. And it'll say like, okay, your session's this long, put in this like note-taking time break for yourself. You know, your walk is scheduled at 1 p.m.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like schedule management.
Yeah.
Okay. What are like some of the challenges? I mean, obviously you're working with a lot of groups. You're working with a lot of the managers and leaders of these different like centers. What is your sort of view? Like how are you – they always have busy schedules. Their focus is much more obviously on the clinical experience of a center. What's your recommendation for clinicians to sort of – how do you get them to carve time out? Or how can one carve time out to do that marketing? To kind of do these things that are like top of the funnel that brings them more business. Yeah.
I think it is really difficult to take that time.
Yeah.
They're honestly, sounds funny to say, they're honestly really lucky to have a marketing team.
Totally.
Right? So I definitely try to take time to sit with them and say like, hey, like Dominique, for example, at LAOP, you know, what are your goals for this quarter? What do you want to focus on? We work really well together. She'll find events that she wants to go to, and then I'll kind of help support how is LAOP going to show up in that way. Yeah. So from someone that does have their own practice and maybe doesn't have all that time, if it's something you're really interested in and something you do want to support, there's, you know, Fiverr where you can find somebody on to do your social media for you for like relatively easy cost, and just think about like it's at the point where it's really cool. You can just give them like, this is what I specialize in, this is what I want to hit, what are the statistics we can bring up and, you know, talk about online.
Yeah And I think for most folks, right, it's like you start to think about, oh, let me go into Canva and make my own design tools. And even as an AI company, like you know, I've been through that, and then you realize there is a craft to this job. There's a level of expertise, and in some ways it's smarter to not try to go be everything.
Yeah, like your time is so valuable. Absolutely. Outsource it if you can. If you have the ability to outsource a few things to help your business grow even more, like that's a win. Totally. You could even get a ghostwriter for you on LinkedIn.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to do something interesting. I wanted to flip it around since we're talking more admin. What are you curious about from an AI perspective in the clinical world? And maybe I can answer some questions for you.
Oh, So how do you keep it HIPAA confidential? Like where is this information going if you are using it for clinic notes, and how are you keeping it secure?
It's a great question. So a couple pointers for folks looking at tools. Number one is all of your infrastructure needs to run in like a HIPAA compliant environment. So your servers and infrastructure where your code is actually hosted. So for HPY, for example, we actually run on Amazon AWS, and they have literally HIPAA specific environments where all that data is sort of kept separate from anything else. They also maintain certain standards that we have to comply to in terms of how we store information and so on and so forth. For HPY specifically, what we do is when we transcribe a call, we transcribe in 3-minute segments. So we listen for 3 minutes in the conversation. The system transcribes a sentence. It scrubs any personal identifiable information and then basically deletes the full recording permanently. So that's how we sort of take it a step beyond. And then obviously any artifacts of information that remain, they're fully encrypted. So even if anyone were to get into it, they actually it means nothing, basically. And so that's how we ensure it. And then the second extra layer that we put on is we obviously work with other downstream partners for some of the AI models. And we have what's called a zero data retention policy. So you have to apply for it and say, hey, look, any of the information that I send you should never be used for any training purposes, and you'll not retain that information at all. So that's how we operate with a lot of the partners that we work with to maintain that compliance.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I am not very tech savvy at all.
Okay.
I mean, I am as a
sense?
marketer. Yes. But I'm also wondering if you could, how they say AI is always learning and growing. And so how? Yeah.
So it's complex. The fundamental way that sort of have you heard of the word LLM? Like large language models.
Okay.
So what ChatGPT is, it's a large language model. And the way it kind of inherently works, in a very simplistic way, is what it's actually doing is using mathematical prediction to figure out what the next word is in a phrase, right? So good example is I could say, the sky is
blue.
Perfect. Right?
Is it blue?
Is it blue? So
like Siri when she's pulling up your auto text recommendations.
Exactly.
Okay.
So imagine that same mechanism on steroids, right? And the model refinement becomes better where they're like, hey, we can predict and we can look at, say, 1 million word possible choices that within a particular phrase, this is the next word that will show up to complete this phrase. And so that's kind of generally how AI works. So it's not inherently intelligent, right? Mm-hmm. But what it's doing is it understands language. So the way it gets smarter is obviously there's different techniques and methods to sort of make AI smarter. There's some research going on, hey, instead of using a predictive sentence or a predictive word, can we actually predict at the sentence level, right? But you can imagine if you're predicting whole sentences instead of just words, and you're looking at all the possible different scenarios of what comes next, it takes a lot of compute power. Mm-hmm. You need a lot of computer power to go do that.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where this industry is sort of headed. And so that's kind of how generally it works.
Okay. So kind of what's holding it back right now is just computer power and space in general?
Yeah, compute power. And I think there's just some of this stuff is so new that we're just continually optimizing all these different models to become better and better, and for specific purposes too, right? Predicting the next word in a marketing copy, right, is going to be one thing versus, say, predicting the next word in a scientific paper or research paper, right? And the inherent properties of what needs to happen, the models are tuned differently. And so that's kind of where we're seeing this proliferation of all these different AI companies specializing in different things. And this is just an example of words. You can do this with anything, whether it's audio, video, pictures, so on and so forth.
That's super cool.
It's crazy, right?
Very crazy.
What else? What else have you thought about? Like, what is the kind of general conversation on AI and like the overall group in general that you're working in today?
I think, I'm not really sure if our other departments use it as much as I do. Yeah.
And why is that?
I think there's still some aspect that it is new, and I think a lot of people have a hesitancy to adopt a new program when they're like already really busy in the day to day. Yeah.
So it's really just like behavior change and solving a small problem for them.
Yeah, this goes back to marketing too. Yeah. So you'd really have to have like your AI program say this is how much time it's going to save you, or you know, like the end result, like it's really going to transform. This is your problem. This is how it's going to fix it.
Yeah. What do you wish as someone who uses AI heavily, right? Within this context of therapists, I've heard a lot of clinicians and therapists are just straight up afraid of AI taking their jobs.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah. And why is that?
Because like you said too, the power of prediction, it can really only go so far.
Right.
But also for me, I mean, if you put something in and just ask for a prompt, it's not going to be very good. Or it's going to be like the same thing you've seen everywhere else. It's kind of like LinkedIn. I keep bringing that up because I'm trying to get more into LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
But you see people, they're like, this is an AI-generated comment or totally like a post, and it's just very drab. And you as a human will always have something so much more unique to say, or it's just like our brains are all wired so differently.
Totally.
That like the specific way you talk or speak just is going to give you an edge. So that's why I think AI is really good to enhance what you're already doing, but it can't rely on you, like even as an artist. It can help you do things quicker, but it's not going to replace your unique perspective, your unique voice.
Yeah.
I don't know like the technical jobs. Like I know Meta's talking about replacing things with AI. I can't speak on that. I don't know. But even like, you know, when you call someone on the phone and it's an AI voice and you're just like, please, like representative, please, representative.
Totally.
Like you don't want to, people want humans.
Totally. And I think it's interesting as I'm thinking through, like, there was like, oh my God, people are emoting to ChatGPT. What's going to happen to my job? Is it going to use all my data? And so on. There's all this hoopla about it. And there might be some of that, right? However, in your business, I would be hard pressed to see an outpatient treatment center run by robots.
Right.
Like when you are feeling sad, you're not trying to go feel better with C-3PO.
No.
You know, that's like not a thing.
No, you need that human connection.
You need the human connection.
You need it. And also, I don't know that companies would really be willing to do like a therapy chatbot to the extent that people would actually need just because of the liability of it as well.
Totally.
So I guess you also have to think about that.
Absolutely. Well, I know this is a quick session, but thanks so much for your wisdom and insight on how to market your practice. If people want to get more information on you and your work, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. Come find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Hannah Maxson.
That's the place.
Yeah, we can talk about how to grow your practice.
Okay. I love it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks
it was amazing.
Yeah. Boom.
Thank you so much for joining us for Happy Hour. We hope you walked away having learned something and feeling a little less alone on the journey. If you liked what you heard, it would mean so much to us if you subscribe so you can be notified every time we have a new episode. To learn more about what we are doing at HPY, go to thinkhpy.com. Until next time, we hope you feel heard. Take care.